Good morning. Good morning. You know, I thought last week and the week before was really cool when we had so many adults here in the sanctuary for the first time in so long, but this is so much better. To see all you young folks, to see the families that are here, to see the volunteers who are going to be leading our religious education program. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is good to see you all. And let's all offer a great welcome to those who are joining us online via Zoom. This camera here, you can wave to everybody, say hi. Welcome them too, and we welcome you from wherever you are to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Delaware County on this wonderful winter morning. It is so good to see the upper half of all your faces. So let's see. Where do we begin, Chrissy? We have bubbles. We had bubbles here. So for those who weren't here or who were visiting us from online, we had bubbles going at the front door to welcome our families here. Can you tell I'm excited? So this month's theme is widening the circle. And that's our Soul Matters spiritual theme. And the message today is going to be about how love widens our circle and how it increases our own selves and the selves of others. So it is great to have you all here. If you are joining us remotely, I want to remind you that closed captioning is available and that there is virtual coffee hour after the service if you want to stay and be in a breakout room. For those here, parents of children, you'll be able to pick up your kids after the service. And what time will that be, Chrissy? Right after the service. So we're not going to have any coffee hour here. We're not able to do that safely yet. So if we will ask you to go and pick up your kids immediately following the service. Chrissy, I bet you have a few things you want to say. No? Yes? Did I?
Not right now. I'm going to say it later.
Not right now. Okay, I do want to thank our online host, Mark Bernstein, and I want to thank our tech folks this morning, Marilyn Huff, Will Emmons, and Skip Seeloff. So thank you for running tech for us. And so I think we will begin our service now. And although we cannot sing here in the sanctuary, Bob is going to sing an opening hymn for us. If you are at home or visiting us remotely, feel free to sing along. The words are in your program that you can access electronically. Good morning, Bob. All right, take it away.
Please join me in a second. I'm just waiting a moment for oh, there we go. Please join me as we recite our covenant together. Enriched by our differences and joined together in our search for meaning, we covenant with ourselves and each other to seek truth in a spirit of love, to strive for justice, and to serve others with a joyful heart. Thank you. And now I invite Kate Baker and her family to come forward to light the chalice.
Good morning. Thank you for being our chalice lighters today. I have words by the Reverend Maureen Killeran. Love is the aspiration, the spirit that moves and inspires this faith we share. Rightly understood, love can nurture our spirits and transform the world. May the flame of this chalice honor and embody the power and the blessing of the love we need, the love we give, the love we are challenged always to remember and to share. Thank you. I invite all those gathered here in the sanctuary now to take time during our centering song to draw ourselves into a deeper place of worship. Those at home may feel free to sing along. And we thank Bob and the UUCDC virtual choir for that gift of music. I love that meditation because it starts with us inside, it moves to those around us, and then it includes all of us. And just like ripples when a stone is dropped in the water, it spreads out from the center. And now is the time in our service where we have the opportunity to embody that meditation as well by dropping stones into our bowl of water, stones of joy or sorrow. Whatever is on your heart today, whether it's lifting you up or weighing you down, you're invited to drop a stone. For those who are with us online, feel free to share your joy or sorrow in the chat. All are invited. Please come forward, drop the stone, come up this side of the sanctuary and exit this way to keep things flowing. Thank you. and I will drop 3 stones this morning. The first represents the joys and sorrows that are with our online community. The second represents the joys and sorrows for members of our community who are not with us today, either in person or virtually. And the third is for Todd Johnson and his family. Todd lost his mom this week after a long illness. It's been a tough road for Todd's mom, and that road has come to an end. And so we extend our hearts out to Todd and all his family in this tender time. Please join me now in a time of prayer. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, God of many names, that presence and force that is with us always, that knows no name. In this time together, we open our hearts to one another. We feel the joy of seeing faces we haven't seen in so long except on screens. And we give thanks for those screens and how they've kept us connected through the many, many months apart and still keep us connected with those who are with us online today. We must offer up our prayer of gratitude for all that is our life, for the love that we share, for our ability to begin to come together again. And yet we know amidst our celebrations, there are sorrows as well. It is the cycle of our lives, from pain to joy and back again and around and around. So let us open our hearts as well to those who are hurting, those who are missing loved ones who have gone, for those who are anxious or depressed or fearful. And let us give thanks for the gift of vaccines and boosters and how they are opening up our country and our world once more. We pray that those who have not been able to access this medical miracle, that they are able to sometime soon. And let us pray for peace. Let us pray for peace in our world right now when it seems so tenuous. May the diplomats prevail. May we be brought back from the brink of armed conflict. Let us in our own little worlds be instruments of peace. Let us make peace. Let us be peace. Let us seek peace in all our relationships. We offer up these prayers in the name of all that is holy and in all the holy names. Amen. Now, for those of you here in the sanctuary, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit. We are going to not sing Spirit of Life. Those at home can sing, but we will share the movements. And if you haven't been online with us and you're new to us, just follow along with Christy and I, and we'll share these movements and sing Spirit of Life. We start by representing the chalice flame, our Spirit of Life.
Sing in my heart.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Good morning. I want to say very quickly, and grown-ups, you can close your ears for this part. Kids, it has been a long time since many of you have been in this space, but you have remembered so much. You remembered how to sit quietly, how to listen, how to go and drop your stones. I am so proud of all of you and so impressed. Great job. Thank you. Grown-ups, you can listen again. Okay. Today I'm going to tell a story called The Cure, and it's by Reverend Christopher Busey. Is that right, Busey? Bice. Okay, that's not how I would have spelled that. Christopher Bice. Thank you. All right. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Maggie. And Maggie loved to play with her friends, and she had a lot of fun. And then one day, Maggie found out that she had a terrible disease and that she was not going to get better. And Maggie felt very, very sad. But not only did she feel very, very sad, she started to feel very, very lonely because all of her friends stopped coming to visit because they were scared that they might get a terrible disease too. So Maggie sat alone and sad. And then one day, 3 of her friends did come and visit, and she was so excited, and her friends were so excited, and they said, Maggie, we have great news. We are going to find a cure for your illness. Now, one of her friends was a doctor, and she said, I'm going to go into my lab, and I'm going to do all kinds of experiments, and I'm going to find a medicine that will make you better. And one of her friends was a minister, and he said, I am going to go and I'm going to pray day and night until you are feeling better again. And her third friend was a magician, and they said, I am going to look at all the spell books I have, and I am going to find some kind of magical cure for you. And the friend said, okay, we're going to go off and do it. And before she could even say anything, they went running off to find a cure for her. And Maggie was back alone in her bed. But she felt good knowing that her friends cared about her and were thinking of her and were trying to help. 3 days went by. Her friend, the doctor, was working in her lab, trying all kinds of different things, different chemicals and compositions to try to find a medicine. And she couldn't find any medicine that would help Maggie. Her friend, the minister, was praying day and night in every language he knew, every prayer he imagined, even prayers that came straight from his heart. And still, Maggie wasn't getting any better. Her friend, the magician, was looking at all of their books, all of their grimoires, looking for any kind of spell or tincture or potion that might help Maggie feel better, and couldn't find anything. The friends felt like they had failed. They were so sad. They went back to Maggie and they said, we tried everything and we couldn't find anything that would cure you. And the friends started to cry. Don't cry, Maggie said. When I was well, I had tons of friends. And then when I got sick, my friends went away. Now you have all come back, and I feel your presence again with me. I've learned that my illness is horrible, but the loneliness is even worse. The only medicine that I need, Maggie said, is friendship. The only prayer that I need is your presence with me. And the only magic that I need is love. Maggie's friends heard what she was saying, and they stood around her, and they put their hands on her, and they made a circle of love and presence and friendship. And it is said that in that circle, they found the cure. Thank you for listening to my story today. All right, in a few minutes, we're gonna go to RE. Yay! I'm gonna give you some instructions, so pay attention for a few more minutes. First of all, well, pay attention in this room for a few more minutes. I want to say thank you to Bob. If you don't know, Bob plays the piano and he leads the choir, but Bob also works all over the church to make sure our church is clean and ready. And Bob got all of your classrooms all ready. So thank you to Bob. And thank you to Leah. Leah's out in the lobby. She's waving. Leah is our RE assistant, and she worked so hard to make sure we have all the supplies we need and everything is ready for your teachers. I want to thank all of our volunteers who answered the call to teach this year. We have a lot of people who are teaching for the first time, which is amazing and exciting and wonderful. So I'm going to call your teachers' names, and I'm going to have them stand so you can look around and see who your teachers are, and we can be grateful for these people who have answered our call to teaching. And I don't know where the Zoom is looking, but if the Zoom looks at the congregation right now, that would be helpful because then everyone can see. All right. So for preschool and kindergarten, we have Deirdre Konar, Melissa Nedza, Natalie Noble, and Gloria Spicer, who isn't with us right now. So if you are a preschool or kindergartner, those people are your teachers. All right. Thank you very much. First and second grade, we have Mary Clinton, Ginger Daly, Teresa Mayberry, Osmond Shake, and Ross Konar. So if you are a first or second grader, those are your teachers today. For third and fourth grade, we have Kelly Rayfield, John Jersika, and Justin Davis, who couldn't be here today. Third and fourth graders, those are your teachers. Also, we really need at least one more teacher in third and fourth grade, so if you want to join that team, please let me know. Fifth and sixth grade, your teachers are Christine Dole, Tom Ammon, Susan Foster, and Allison Chabot. So if you are a fifth or sixth grader, those are your teachers. I also want to mention that we have RE during our 11:15 service. Starting today, our 7th and 8th graders have John Davies, Abby Houston, and Rena Jersika as their teachers. Rena's here. And our COA and Yuckies have been having youth groups since September, so I want to acknowledge their volunteers too who have been working this whole time. Brad Randall, Marge Caton, Kirsten Liu, Kate Gordon, Kate Ramos, Jennifer Gould, and Rachel Lundberg. So thank you to all of our wonderful volunteers. All right, one last thing. Parents, you'll pick your children up in their RE classrooms at the end of today. You should have signed them in on the sign-up sheet. If you didn't do that, go ahead and walk out with them when it's time to walk out and make sure they're signed in. You'll sign them out at the end. And as I was saying to Reverend Peter, we're going to try to have RE end when the service ends. Today it might be a little later because we want to make sure we're doing all the fun first day of RE stuff we want to do. So you may have to wait a little bit, but we're trying to minimize people milling about the building. So we're going to be flexible, right? All right. And Leah and I will be in the lobby helping direct people to where you need to go. In a moment, Bob will play our sending song. During the first verse, I'm going to ask our teachers to get up and go into the lobby. And then during the second verse, the kids will go and join their teachers. All right. Thank you.
So we know it's going to be a little noisy with the doors to the sanctuary open, but we need to keep them open for our airflow out through the sanctuary. So now is the time in our service where we will take this morning's offering to support. This is the second Sunday of the month, so we'll be supporting our local community partner, and that community partner is, who we're waiting for it to come up on the screen. We'll go back a couple slides. There it is, the Stork's Nest. So the Stork's Nest is a group, an organization that provides prenatal care and prenatal advice and counseling to at-risk and underserved populations in Delaware County. They help to make pregnant women healthier and give them ways in which they can ensure the health of their unborn babies. So we are going to donate 100% of our offering today at both this service and the later service to the Stork's Nest, and you can do that as we do now through using your smartphones and texting Share the Plate, STP, to the number on your screen. And if for some reason you prefer to write a check, you can feel free to do that. If you're here in the sanctuary, there are boxes back by the doors that you can place your check in at the end of the service. So thank you for your support of this great organization, the Stork's Nest. Thank you all for your generosity. Our reading this morning is taken from Anne Morrow Lindbergh's book, Gifts from the Sea. She writes, "When you love someone, you do not love them all the time in exactly the same way from moment to moment. It is an impossibility. It is even a lie to pretend to. And yet, this is exactly what most of us demand. We have so little faith in the ebb and flow of life, of love, of relationships. We leap at the flow of the tide and resist in terror its ebb. We are afraid it will never return. We insist on permanency, on duration, on continuity, when the only continuity possible in life as in love is in growth, in fluidity, in freedom, in the sense that the dancers are free, barely touching as they pass, but partners in the same pattern. The only real security is not in owning or possessing, not in demanding or expecting, not in hoping even. Security in a relationship lies neither in looking back to what it was in nostalgia, nor forward to what it might be in dread or anticipation, but living in the present relationship and accepting it as it is now. For relationships, too, must be like islands. One must accept them for what they are here and now within their limits. Islands surrounded and interrupted by the sea, continually visited and abandoned by the tides. One must accept the security of the winged life, of ebb and flow, of intermittency." Words of Anne Morrow Lindbergh. Now we will receive another musical offering from the UUCDC Virtual Choir.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere, somewhere. There is more hope somewhere, somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere, somewhere. There is more peace somewhere, somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere, somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. Yes, there's more love somewhere.
There are so many ways in which my life has been blessed, but one of those is I've been blessed to be surrounded by love. My parents, who've been married for more than 60 years, love each other and they love me and they're still living. I have 3 siblings whom I love and who love me as well. I have 2 beautiful daughters and 4 grandsons who I love with a ferocity I never thought possible. I have a circle of close friends who support and love one another. And then there is Irene, my beloved, with whom I have shared nearly all of my adult life. Yes, I have been blessed to be surrounded by love. I know that not everyone has shared in the abundance and the bounty which I enjoy. But I do believe that loving and being loved is a universal human experience. At one time or another in all our lives, we have loved and we have been loved, even if we're not feeling loved at the moment. Whether in the bonds between parent and child, between one friend and another, between partners or spouses, or between ourselves and that divine mystery that some call God, each of us has held and been held in the arms of love. Love is life's great teacher. Love is life's great teacher. The experiences of loving and being loved reveal deep truths that are only vaguely seen through other eyes. And like any great teacher, love repeats and repeats its lessons over and over again until we finally come to learn them. And I'm pleased to report that I feel like I finally at least graduated from kindergarten in the school of love. And so as we have Valentine's tomorrow, and now that I have sort of thought about some lessons I've learned, I thought I'd spend a few minutes talking about what I've learned from loving and from being loved. Most of us are familiar with the well-known verse from Paul's first letter to the Corinthians. We've heard it read at so many weddings, and it was sort of referred to in Bob's opening hymn today. The Apostle Paul said, "Love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things." And while I might suggest that love does not always rejoice in the truth and that at times it can be irritable, this is a pretty good list to start with. Patience, kindness, humility, and flexibility are all necessary qualities of a healthy relationship. I would, however, take issue with Paul's last sentence. Love does not require us to bear all things or to endure all things. While we may be entirely devoted to our partner, our spouse, our friend, or lover, love does not require us to submit to abuse or neglect in whatever form it might take. So I'd like to make a few additions to Paul's list. The first of which is that love is present. Love is present. Now this may sound obvious, but I think it is often overlooked. To love and to be loved, you have to be present. You cannot live in relationship with another person unless you bring yourself, your whole self, to the table. And sometimes we know this is easier said than done. The pressures of work and parenting and volunteering at church and the dozens of other distractions that present themselves to us daily, including our cell phones, can easily threaten this most basic of relationship rules, to be present. If we are too tired, too angry, too preoccupied by the events of the day or by apps on our phone, if we're too distracted to be fully present with those we love, love will wither on the vine. And while being fully present is necessary, it's not sufficient. Love is not just about showing up and doing what's required of us. Love is more than emptying the trash, mowing the lawn, shoveling the walk, putting a meal on the table, or putting the kids to bed. Love requires that we notice our beloved, that we ask just the right question in just the right way in just the right time, or we say the words that we realize are needed most. To love is to observe and to respond. Love requires that we be fully present to the other person. Psychologist Erich Fromm put it this way. He wrote, "Love is possible only if two persons communicate with each other from the center of their existence." Communicate from the center of their existence. Which brings me to the next lesson of love. Love listens. Love listens. A few years ago, I was looking at the TV and an ad came on, and a man and a woman in the ad are standing on a beach. They're kind of far apart on the beach, and they each have walkie-talkies, and they're trying to talk to each other on the walkie-talkies, but the woman didn't understand that she needed to let go of the talk button on the walkie-talkie to hear what the man was saying. So she's standing there talking and getting no response, and at the same time, the man down the beach can hear her but can't respond. So you can imagine the frustration the two of them felt. She's talking, can't get a response. He's listening and is unable to reply. So love is like a two-way radio that needs to be on receive most of the time. We cannot sustain a loving relationship if we don't let go of the talk button. The problems of the couple on the beach opens us up to another principle of love, and that is that love forgives. Love forgives us our flaws and our imperfections. Love forgives when we mess up, as we always inevitably do. Love does not expect perfection, and it extends grace in the face of our human frailties. In her essay, The Blessings of Age, Barbara Rhodey describes the 5 stages of a loving relationship. Number 1, darling, you are perfect. Number 2, good grief, you seem to have a few foibles. Number 3, let me help you get rid of your foibles so you will indeed be perfect. Number 4, okay, I love you in spite of your foibles. And then number 5, I can't believe this has happened. I somehow love you because of your foibles. The flip side of this grace that abides in love is our willingness to admit our mistakes and to recognize our own shortcomings. In Love Story, do you remember Love Story back, that movie and that book that Eric Siegel wrote? He said, love means never having to say you're sorry. And this is perhaps the biggest, most outrageous untruth ever spoken. In my experience, at least, love means just the opposite. It means having to say that you're sorry over and over and over again. So those are some of the lessons I've learned from loving over the years, lessons that all of us must relearn time and time again. Be present, pay attention, listen, forgive, apologize. But perhaps the greatest lessons I've learned have come not from my loving, but from my being loved. When I step back and observe what it takes to love me with my considerable foibles and faults and failures, my shortcomings, my bad habits, and I see that despite everything, people actually do manage somehow to love me, well, that's where I learn the deepest truths of love and life. From being loved, I have learned that it is possible and sometimes necessary to risk everything we know and want for the sake of another. From being loved, I have learned that it is possible and sometimes necessary to follow a dream that is not one's own. From being loved, I have learned that we can make ourselves vulnerable beyond prudent measure, and we can dare to hope for new life after near death. From being loved, I have learned that the thinnest thread, when offered from loving hands, can be a lifeline. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke has written that love is a high inducement for individuals to ripen, to strive to mature in the inner self, to manifest maturity in the outer world, to become that manifestation for the sake of another. This, he writes, is a great demanding task and calls one to expand one's horizon greatly. When we are loved, we are opened up to new horizons and new possibilities. The love of another is like a mirror held up to our faces, but in that mirror we see ourselves not as we are, but as we might be. Those who love us create for us a vision to which we can aspire. And this is perhaps love's greatest lesson. From being loved, I have learned that I have the capacity to be a far better person than I ever dreamed I could be. From being loved, we learn that we are worthy of love, and what greater gift could we ever receive? These are the lessons of love I wanted to share with you today, and they are, of course, also lessons for living each of our days. Be present and aware and responsive. Listen to one another. Be forgiving and seek forgiveness. Be willing to risk everything for the sake of another. Support someone else's dream. Dare to be vulnerable when good sense urges otherwise. Reflect back to others the best in themselves. And let us always remember the words of Viktor Frankl, the concentration camp survivor who, amidst the horrors of the Holocaust, discovered this essential truth. He wrote, "The salvation of humanity is through love and in love." This day and every day, I wish you love. Amen. Bob will play and sing our closing hymn. Make channels for the streams of love. Those of you at home have the words in your program and feel free to sing along.
Make channels for the streams of love where they may broadly run, and love as overflowing streams to fill them everyone. But if at any time we cease such channels to provide, the very fount of love for us will soon be parched and dry. For we must share if we would keep this gift all else above. We cease to give, we cease to have, such is the law of love.
We cease to give, we cease to have. Such is the law of love. I will extinguish our chalice flame as we bring our service to a conclusion. I would invite you to join me in saying the words printed on your screen. Although we now extinguish our chalice flame, may we hold its warmth in our hearts in all the days ahead. Thank you all for being here today. I hope the drive home is okay. A lovely snowfall outside. If you have kids in the RE program, we'll give them probably a few more minutes to get into their materials a little more. But I want to thank those of you who are here, those of you who are here online. Thank our online host, Mark Bernstein, our tech folks. Thank you, Maryland, Will, and Skip. And thank you to our hospitality team as well for greeting us so wonderfully at the door. And I hope you have a good week. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and say together the words of our benediction. If there's someone nearby whose hands you're comfortable holding, feel free to hold them. If not, we'll do our virtual hand holding like we have been doing. As we say together, for those who come here seeking God, may God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection. And for those who come to seek a path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step. Blessed be. Thank you, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. Have a good week.